This video right here is going to be a little bit more on the controversial side. It's buying versus renting. This is my personal opinion. A lot of these things are facts. However, a lot of these things are going to be coming from, I guess, a bias as to why I would rather rent, I guess, long term, and the reasons why. So I always hear everybody say, why are you not buying instead of renting? Because renting is just throwing money away. Well, let me tell you that I was actually, first of all, let's just do a little backstory. We were going to buy our first house in South Carolina. However, we ended up moving pretty soon after that. So I'm kind of glad we didn't actually buy that house. You know why? Because of the current circumstances that are happening right now that are out of our control whenever we want to go and sell. Now, obviously, if it was going to be your forever home, which we thought the same thing, then you probably won't be selling anytime. Like whenever, I guess you would have it until you die or pass it on or whatever the case is going to be. But most of the time, I mean, giving on these current circumstances these days, I don't know, I like to travel and stuff like that, so it's kind of hard. There's some things that you just kind of have to think about if you are a person that thinks the way that I do and likes to travel and be in different places. Therefore, we would have had to sell the house in the current market conditions right now, which I don't know, probably wouldn't have been that great. Probably would have took some loss on that. The house needed some work done to it, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into a little bit more, is that a lot of people going into buying and just the idea of buying a house versus renting, they oftentimes don't think about the things that come with buying a house. And some of the things that come with buying a house that you may not think about are, things that you have to repair on the roof, or if you have to buy a new roof. If your land that your house is built on needs any type of work done to it, if you're trying to level out things, you want to take out rocks, you need to cut down trees. Cutting down trees can cost thousands of dollars. And I'm guaranteed that the average person, if you just bought a house, you're probably not just having thousands of dollars laying around again after that. Now, like I said, it's situational. Some people do, some people don't. However, even if you're putting those things on credit and you're thinking that, I'm going to just pay this mortgage, which is $600 or $800 versus $16 to $2,000 or whatever the case is, depending on where you live, right? Versus like $2,000 in rent or something like that. Now you're paying $800, $1,200 in mortgage payment, $800. Let's just say it's around there. And now you're paying for these trees that you cut down, this roof, or whatever else that you're trying to do. You might have to have bought some appliances, new furniture, especially if it's your first home. Those are just some things that you have to think about, because now you have the new debt load that you just acquired, and the average house now is at least around $300,000 these days, the way that prices and everything has been. If not, it's definitely up there now. And so with that being said, you're going to have that debt on your profile, which is all right. You need a good little mix of credit on your profile. However, now you're having to go out and you're going to have to buy these things for that home, which is going to have monthly payments now. And essentially what I'm getting at is you could be right back where you are. Along with that, let's say, like your average person does, you fill that gap. Just like when a person starts making more and they start increasing their expenses, that's bound to happen in majority of the households, because that's exactly what most of the time does happen. So now you're back at square one. Now it went from saving money on a house by buying a house, or saving money on living and housing by buying a house, to now being right back where you are. But now you do have all this nice stuff to enjoy. You have your own house, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. Most of the time you could do a 20-year mortgage, but a lot of the time people are doing 30. And even when they get to, X amount of years, 10, 15 years, a lot of people are taking out home equity. and they're taking out the equity on their home and they're putting it back in their home because their home needs things that they don't think about before, and now they have to pay for those things, so their loan goes right back to wherever it was going. Turn this back on. Their home goes back to whatever price, or their loan, their house is worth whatever it's worth. Hopefully they come out on top when it's necessary. But that's where they're going wrong with the home equity. So now this is why I would buy a house if I was going to do it any other way. This is what I would be doing. So my first house, if I wanted a house in general, right? Obviously, I like nice things, and I'm sure you do too. And most of the time, our first home isn't where we're going to end up staying forever. Now, I don't know the statistics on that, but that's just how I feel. The first home isn't probably like checking every single box. There's probably something out there that you'll like a little bit better, right? So use that first home, and whenever you're going to go take out the home equity on that, you use that money to put down on another home, right? So now you're going to try to get your two homes. You're going to rent out your first home, and even depending on the type of loan that you have, of course, because there's certain things that you can and can't do. You have to live in the house for like a year or something if you're doing it through the VA and stuff like that. So obviously there's terms and conditions that apply with this type of stuff. However, first home, second home, make sure they're, decent location, decent condition, so that way you can rent them out. Then you use that money that you now have, plus your income, plus hopefully you're married and everything. I would think maybe you're not, or if you have a partner or something like that, combine all of those incomes. And now you are able to, hopefully, maybe if not, you could try to do this again. There's other ways to keep going on with this. Use that money now all together to get the house that you actually want. Now you have those two streams of income, plus you and your partner's streams of income, and then you also have the house that you want. Now you could just rinse and repeat. You could get into other things with those two houses that you had before. If they're duplexes, even better. And you can use that money to streamline more incomes from other sources. Now that's what I would do if I were ever going to buy a house, just based off of what I know. Now, renting being just throwing away money, not necessarily. When you're buying a house and you're constantly moving and stuff, that takes a lot of time to sell a house, to buy a house. It takes, a lot of money and just energy, and just a lot goes into buying and selling house process and just living in it, and the expenses that you are going to incur. I know when we were looking through the houses, there was a house that had just got solar panels put on it and the loan was not paid off. So that was just going to fall over on the next people who bought that home. These are things that you have to think about. Again, so renting may not necessarily be throwing away money, because now you have the comfort and the convenience to move whenever it's necessary. Now, obviously, if you have a lease, you're going to have to buy out of your lease, but sometimes you don't have to, depending on which community that you're with, sometimes they'll let you out early and things like that, or you might not even have to pay that much to get out, but it's still way less than you're going to have to, what type of fees and things that you're going to incur when buying a home and then wanting to leave and sell that home and stuff like that. That's why I feel like renting is the best idea if you're just living. However, if you are trying to get your life upgraded and you want that house, make sure you get the other streams of income, so that way you can actually afford that house without going back into the same type of payments. And a lot of people make the argument, well, at least I'll own the home. No, you do not own the home. You don't own anything. And let me tell you why. You are probably having maybe a 30-year mortgage, something like that. Average person is probably maybe 30s or so when they're buying a house. I don't know. I have to look at the statistics, but I don't know a lot of people that are in their 20s that are buying their homes, right? So let's say you're in your 30s, maybe 40s. If you have a 30-year mortgage, you're going to be 60, 70 when you pay that off. That's around retirement age. All right. And hopefully you are putting away for retirement, or you have some type of idea of what you're going to be doing at that point. If you do not pay your property taxes, guess what's going to happen? The house is not yours. All right. So you're never going to own anything. So just get that out of your head. And it may be in your name, but you still owe that bank money for X amount of years. And after that, you still have to pay your property taxes. If you don't do that, you know what's going to happen, right? So that throws that straight out the window. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but renting is smarter. Like I said, renting is smarter if you are just going to be living day by day, and buying a home is for those people that are really going to put that work in to get to what they actually want and build those streamlined incomes, because that's what you need nowadays to be affording this type of stuff. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's just the truth. Catch you guys in the next video. Hope you appreciate it.